This video is going to serve as an introduction to coding in NVivo. This is the single most important part of any project. It's the one that's going to take you the most time, and it's also the thing that's going to affect the quality of your data. The more time you invest in your coding, the more depth you will get to any of your insights. The important thing to remember here is that NVivo is not a method. NVivo is a tool. You need to very carefully think about your approach to understanding your data and how you're going to do it. If you're not sure about coding and you need further advice, the library stocks some excellent books. In particular, I'm recommending the Coding Manual for Qualitative Researchers. You'll see we have plenty of copies of this available in the library, and it's really useful in helping you understand some of the more complicated approaches to coding and understanding data. I'm just going to look at the process here and how we use NVivo as a tool to do this in this video. If I head back to NVivo, I'm going to open up one of my interviews here. The process of coding is where we are looking for the themes, the behaviors, the concepts, the attributes or whatever else within our data. This could be any form of data. It could be an observation, it could be a focus group, an interview, it could be a journal article. But you'll see the example that I have here is using this within the context of an interview. Essentially, the coding process requires us to find pieces of text and allocate those pieces of text to a theme. So this is very similar to how we create our cases if you've already seen that video. Essentially, what you would do is in reading the text, you would want to allocate some of that text to one of your themes. So here I can see Charles is talking quite a bit about salt water and how much he's liking it. So I'm going to highlight this text and I'm going to add this to the theme of salt water. Like with everything in NVivo, there's different ways that I can do this. Once I've highlighted that text, I can right click, and right at the top you'll see there's the code option. If I click on that, it's going to open up a new window here, and you'll see under my nodes there are no themes at the moment, so I can create a new one. I'm going to call this one salt water. Click on it, click OK, and that text is now coded under the theme of salt water. If I just close this interview for a minute and go to my nodes and my nodes here, you'll see salt water is listed, it appears in one source and it has one reference. And if I double click on this, you'll see it's going to bring up the text that I've highlighted and it's showing me where it appeared with the blue link at the top. This is the most powerful thing about NVivo, and it doesn't look very powerful at this very early rudimentary stage, but when you have 10 or 20 interviews and you have 30 themes and you have references all over the place, this can really help you manage. The important thing is when I'm looking at the things that appear within a theme, it's never decontextualized from the interview. At any point I can click on this blue link and see where that text, where that theme appears within that source. Highlighting and right-clicking, however, wasn't the only way that I could allocate things to a theme. Once I've double-clicked and opened up a source so it appears here in my detailed view, I can go to my nodes and nodes again and navigate to nodes in my list view and use dragging and dropping to achieve the same thing. So here again I can see we have Charles and he's talking about the water again. So I'm going to highlight this again and I'm going to put this into the saltwater theme. As it already exists, all I need to do is drag and drop this straight into saltwater, and you'll see there's now two references to that, so I know that that coding has gone through. As I'm scrolling down the document and I continue to read, interpret my data and understand it, you will continue to create and develop these themes. I can see here he's talking about some commercial fishing. It's a theme that doesn't exist here, so this time I will drag and drop. I drop it into the bottom area here, and you'll see it pops up. It asks me what the name of the new node that I'm creating is, and as I said, it's commercial fishing in this case, and click OK. You'll see it's appeared here and the references and sources have appeared. Now, this is a time-lengthy process, but this is the equivalent of you going through your transcript or your literature with your highlighter pen. The advantage with NVivo is we're not limited by the number of pens that we have. We can literally create as many nodes as we want to imagine, and we can change our mind, we can adapt them, we can drag those around. If at any point you make a mistake with your coding, you can highlight and uncode when you're within a document, but it's far easier for you to head straight to the code itself. So in this case, I'm going to open up commercial fishing, highlight the text I want to remove from it, right click, and you'll see I can uncode it from the node that it's in by going to uncode from this node, and it's disappeared. If at any point you want to rename one of your themes, so it could be that I later decide that salt water is just actually referring to bodies of water, I can right click, go to my node properties, and I'm going to go in here and just change this to water. So this is a process that takes time. If you ever want to hierarchy your themes, you can do that by dragging and dropping as well. So if I decide that commercial fishing belongs in water, all I need to do is highlight, drag and drop, and you'll now see commercial fishing belongs in water. If I changed my mind, all I need to do is drag it out and put it back into the nodes folder in the navigation pane. This way we can hierarchy our themes in quite complicated ways. To give you a feel for what this looks like in a bigger project, I'm just going to save the project I'm in and I'm going to close it, and I'm going to open up a new sample project here. So as I've stated in an earlier video, the sample project is an example of an NVivo project with lots of data and lots of research into it. So if I go to the nodes here and once again go to nodes, you'll see I have quite an extensive list of nodes within this window. If I click on these little plus icons, we can see how these nodes are treed, and you can see they can go to multiple levels. The sources indicates how many individual source files that's been in. So in the case of this project, that's things like interviews, both in video, audio, and textual format. They could appear in the survey that's a part of the project, in the Twitter feeds, within the literature. There's lots of sources in this project, and although you may have something that's less complicated, it is useful to appreciate the complexity that NVivo can help you deal with. If I click on one of the themes here, such as community change, we're going to get a very extensive list of where this theme has occurred in the text. Once again, NVivo isn't deciding where that theme occurs, this is just showing me where the researcher has allocated that theme to. If you look down the right hand side of your detailed view, you'll see a number of tabs. Summary right at the top is going to show me which places it's occurred and how many times, and then of that, how much of the source is within that field, theme. If I click on references, it shows me the individual references to that source. In the case of an image, it'll just show me the coordinates of the image, or if it was a audio or video file, it would show me the time frame. If I click on text, it will just show me the text it's appeared in at the top, and as I click through them, they appear down here and it shows me the individual snippets where that theme has occurred. If I click on picture, it will show me the images that the theme has occurred in, and once again I can navigate them across the top. We can see here this researcher has just allocated the theme to this area, so it's grayed out the rest of the document. If I go to audio, so in this case we can see Helen's interview, it's grayed out the whole interview apart from the block that appears to that one particular theme. So if I go to my media and click to play, I would just hear the audio snippet that relates to the community change theme. And it works exactly the same with videos. So here I can see Ken's interview, and if it was applied to a time frame, it would do the same as it has with Helen's. In this case, it's just this text here, so it's showing me the text, the transcript alongside that video. This really gives you a feel of how complicated things can get with NVivo, or how complicated your data can be represented within NVivo. But it's important to remember that this is much more difficult for you to achieve with pen and paper. The fundamental advantage of NVivo is we can click on any of our themes and see all of the text that appears within that theme, and also see where that came from. If I close all of these down here, you'll see we also have the option through right clicking to export the code book. So if I do this now, and I'm going to just do it for all of the nodes and untick these auto-coded responses here. Tick include number of sources and references as well, and then choose where to save it. So I'm going to put this on the desktop just so we can quickly access it. Now what this is going to do is it's going to create an Excel representation of this that's really useful for the appendix of your thesis or dissertation. Here I can see it's going to load it up for me, and you can see this is the perfect kind of document that you can put as an appendix within your assignment. You've got all of the themes here, it shows where they're treed, the description of the themes being brought in, and I can see where the number of references, so how many times that theme has occurred within the research project. NVivo does not just simply show us the themes out of the context of the source that they're in, but we can view them within a source as well. If I head to my sources and open up, for example, one of the interviews down here, I can actually see those themes within the transcript itself. So if I go up to the view ribbon here, I can turn on these things called coding stripes. I'm just going to turn them on for all nodes coding to demonstrate them to you. And you'll see this little bar appears down the side here. Now if I drag this further out here, you'll see a list of all of the themes that occur in the project. And as I scroll down this interview here, you'll see the bars move. Essentially, they represent the themes that are within the text. So the blue bar here, policy management, indicates that the policy management theme has been allocated to here. If I click on any of these bars, you'll see it will just identify the individual bits of this interview that have occurred within that particular theme. This is a standard way of representing themes within text. If you highlight themes, it can get very messy. If we look at this single piece of data that we've selected here, it occurs under the real estate theme, the Hawkers Island theme, the Marshallberg theme, and the Hartchalmers mentioning Hawkers Island theme. If I look at another part of this same interview, you can see this paragraph is allocated under almost 10 themes. If I'd highlighted this with 10 different colours, it would be completely indecipherable. If at any point you want to export this in a way that can be viewable, the easiest thing to do is to go to File and Print. Here I can print this document, which will be a really good thing to take in for a supervision or a meeting with your dissertation supervisor, or alternatively you can print one of these off to include in your appendices at the end, and this just shows an example of how you've been conducting your research. What I've done this time, you'll notice, I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to Print, but Print Preview, just so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to click OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate a preview of what that looks like. So if I maximize this for you here, you can see I've got my A4 sheet of paper, and I've got the coding stripe bars here, and then I've got the transcript down the side. You'll see the highlighting that was here is just in presence because I've left the highlighting on from clicking on one of these themes. To turn that on, I can go to the view ribbon, click on highlight and click on none. This video has demonstrated how we manage the coding within NVivo. As I've stated earlier, this is the single most important aspect of any research project. This is when you as a researcher are reading your data, understanding it, categorizing it, applying labels to it. There are so many different processes to this that you really need to think how you're going to do this before you start using NVivo. Just because NVivo can do it, it does not mean it's the right thing for your project. So always think about which of the tools within these videos you might want to use for your own research.